Welcome back to Combat Sports, and today we have a lot to talk about. We have Conor McGregor, we have Deontay Wilder versus Derek Chisora. That happened this weekend, and Deontay Wilder won. We have a lot of other things to break down, especially Caroline Dubois' fight against Terry Harper. But if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel because it goes a long way, your support. And also, 99% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you haven't, please make sure to subscribe when you're watching this video. So Conor McGregor last week went in and did a exhibition charity boxing fight. I don't know really what it was because whoever he was fighting had not a clue in the world what he was doing and shouldn't have been in there. And quite honestly, it just seemed like either they were trying to spar, and maybe that might have been the case, and maybe that's why the other guy was taking it easy, but Conor was not landing any punches that prime Conor McGregor should. Conor McGregor was known for his striking. He was known for being, as he said in the past, he said, timing, timing beats speed, precision beats power, all these little things. And now he's just not really performing like it. And it's quite sad to see because this comeback fight of his is not going to go the way that I think he thinks. And even if he wanted to go up against a Jake or a Logan Paul in a charity boxing fight, not a charity boxing fight, but even if he wanted to do like a Misfits thing, any sort of fight like that for Conor McGregor against an actual boxer, someone knows what they're doing, someone that hasn't been doing, Coca-Cola for God knows how long. And, he's gone Coca Loco, as they say. And unfortunately, he isn't going to come back to his prime, and I think that's pretty safe to say. And unfortunately, when you watch the video of him sparring and doing this exhibition fight, he would get killed by Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, any sort of influencer boxer, just because it just was a terrible performance. I really hope he wasn't trying, but it was a terrible performance. And why get in there and just do it just justice to your credit, your name? It just doesn't make any sense apart from the fact that maybe he actually was trying and that's why he was in there. But honestly, Conor McGregor coming back just doesn't seem like a great thing at the moment. I've seen some bits of him training and I just don't think it's going to be that great of a comeback. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to be the case. And Vidal Riley is your new European Cruiserweight champion. And what a performance from Vidal. And I've seen some people say that he was getting gassed in a couple midway through the fight and then came back on at the end. But he's going up against a veteran in the game. Mateus hasn't been an easy opponent for him. Mateus has been up against, Chris Billings-Smith. He's been up against a load of great fighters. And this is Vidal's step up to potentially, in my opinion now, as Fred said in his interview with him a couple days ago, the IBF title's up, so would you be interested in doing that? And Vidal said he's not very interested in doing it right now because he's got another thing to focus on, which was the fight. So maybe now we can see him fight for an IBF title, which I would love to see because Vidal's journey, even Shannon Briggs is probably kicking himself now, which is just the funniest thing to think about because Vidal's come up in the boxing world has been such a fun watch, and it's really great to see. And Deontay Wilder won this weekend against Derek Chisora in a split decision win, and it was an all-out war. There was a lot that went on. Everyone was going everywhere. Deontay Wilder at one point just fumbled across the ring. I have no idea what happened there. He just literally next thing you know just went 12 feet. But to be honest, that kind of happens with Derek Chisora sometimes, but honestly, Derek Chisora was also getting pushed out the ropes at times. And then there was another thing when Derek's coach came in and tried stopping Deontay because they were both Deontay just literally had him against the ropes, pushing him over and just swinging on him, which was just quite unethical and not how you do it in the boxing game because that's just foul play. That's just nasty foul play. But it wasn't all that war. Both men were going for dirty shots. So you kind of have to allow it. But it was an interesting fight, and Derek Chisora, I kind of almost had it a draw, to be honest. Deontay winning, yeah, you could say that, but I personally had it a draw because I think a draw would have been better because then it would have been their 51st fight together and they could have had a little trilogy, who knows. But personally, I think Derek Chisora, it's his 50th fight. He wanted to call it a day there, but I think if it was a draw, I would hope that he came back and did a trilogy with Deontay because that was the most entertaining fight of this year probably so far. And I think it's probably going to be the most entertaining fight of this year in total because of how much of a brawl it was. And last night, Caroline Dubois, take a bow. Honestly, I've been watching Caroline Dubois now for a little while because I saw some training footage of her about a year or two ago now. And she looks so sharp. She looks so switched on. How do I say it? She had this like kind of like how is it violence about her. She had this kind of like character of me, like I'm not here to like be your mate. I'm here to like this is the game we're in, and this is what I like because boxing is not a sport like football where you can make friends and stuff. You have no friends in boxing if you've not learned from Mike Tyson and sorry, my brain's gone blank now. This is off. Sorry, hang on. I know his name. Oh my god! I was gonna say Ron King, but I was like, this doesn't sound. It was Don. Sorry, long day, long couple of days. But if you didn't see it from Don King, and Mike Tyson, this boxing industry is, a very ruthless game. I've heard stories in this boxing world of people stealing money, going on runners. It's mental. There's a lot of things that I've heard in this boxing world, and when you realize that boxing is not a game, it is literally, probably the most realist thing you could ever get yourself involved in because it's not like football where you're kicking the ball around. And this is what I like about Caroline Dubois. She is not here to take part. She's here to take over. And in other news, it looks like the AJ versus Wilder might be happening at some point. Now, AJ and Wilder had a few encounters at the fight against Chisora, and they had a little, what would he call? AJ stared them down. Wilder just walked past. Then afterwards, after the fight, AJ was standing there. Wilder was like, oh, we can get it on. We can get it on. They had a little bit of a face-off, but quite frankly, I think we can all admit if Wilder goes in there with AJ, it is going to be a horrible night for Wilder. Because personally, AJ is shown that he's still got, time in him. He's proven that. After his he lost obviously Usyk, had a bit of a scuffle with Daniel Dubois. Yes, he got caught with a right hand there. Who's to say that AJ can't come back and fight Daniel Dubois at some point because I think he'd actually do pretty well. But they're going in a different direction now. They're going, look, this era of boxing, AJ Fury, obviously Usyk, personally, I probably shove in, I don't know, who else would you shove into that kind of category of this era? Because, obviously AJ Fury, Usyk, I mean, I think those are the three that I would have to say have to be up at the top of this era. Because obviously Dubois and other people like that, this era, my era kind of thing, they're the kind of new era, I would consider them. But I don't really know who else you would put on, the Mount Rushmore of this generation. But it's safe to say that personally, this generation of Tyson Fury, AJ, it's coming to an end because Wilder would be up there, but he had quite a few significant losses. Um, but this kind of era of boxing that we've had for the last 10, 15 years is coming to an end. And it's the new era coming up because you see Tyson Fury doesn't want to fight Moses, people like that, because they know what the game is at this age. Moses is up and coming. He's going to be around for another 15 years, 20 years, easily. He's only 21? He could fight until he's bloody 40. He could do a couple exhibition fights when he could fight for a while. And this is what I mean. So if Wilder versus AJ happens, I personally think that AJ will just chill him. And this is going to cement the kind of the old legacy of boxing. AJ versus Wilder. We wanted that fight like about 10 years ago now, and we never got that happening. And it would be nice to see that fight. But it'd also be nice to see AJ versus Fury. So you can kind of see the direction they're going in now. They're going, look, AJ versus Wilder and then AJ versus Fury. And then what we could do is maybe do Wilder versus Usyk along the way, maybe. Who knows? But I personally do want to see Moses Atamu versus Usyk. Just shove two of the Titans in. Just give Moses a chance. The worst that can happen is he loses. And anyone can say this right now. Moses could go, do you know what? I wasn't ready for this kind of level. I was, do you know what? But who knows? I think Moses would put up a great performance against Usyk in a fight. And especially, I reckon, in the first 6 rounds with Moses versus Usyk, I think Moses would do really well. And maybe Usyk comes alive in round 7 and 8 and starts getting him with shots. But you've got to give the guy a chance, because that's what boxing's all about. So I think this generation, I see what they're going with. I see what the AJ versus Wilder, AJ versus Fury. That's what they're trying to go for at the moment. Obviously Fury versus Makhmudov. Obviously that fight, they've been friends for a while. Makhmudov's been in the game for a while, a little bit now. So you can kind of see the direction they're going in. But I personally would like to see AJ versus Wilder and Usyk versus Tamu. That would be a stacked card. That would be probably the biggest card of this year if they made it happen. I reckon they could make it happen for December if they actually wanted the fight. But personally, I don't see that they would go for this direction. I think they're going to do AJ versus Wilder, have their own card, and then just see what happens. But they have a chance that they can make a very historic moment with Moses versus obviously Usyk, because I think we can all agree Moses has a better chance than any up and comer to beat Usyk. And lastly, we have Kobe Covington suing Masvidal over a street fight that happened in 2023. It's just a bit sad. Kobe obviously needs the money. I find him entertaining at some points, but you can kind of tell he's just taking it too far. He's trying to be like Sean Strickland, and personally, I'm not a big fan of him. And it's clear to see that he's just kind of being a bit of a, why sue another fighter when you started the fight as well? You were calling him stuff. You were having to go at him. We all saw the video. You were as much to blame over it, but you know what? Let him be. He clearly is a bit of a coward in that sense. He wants to start a fight, but then if someone starts a fight with him, he doesn't want to. He just sues. It's just sad. But that's all the news for last week. And if you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe, because your kind of help to the channel goes a very long way. And if you really want to get involved and you like the kind of content that we're producing here, make sure to email us in at ocombatsportsuk@gmail.com, link in bio, and you can copy the email us in, and you can ask to get involved, because we really appreciate versatile opinions about breaking news, things like that. And we can always credit you as well. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, because that also goes a very long way as well. Helps us grow, helps us get a wider audience and get more people engaged in the channel. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much. Goodbye.